This is a serious video. This lesson costs 2 sailors their lives, and what you're about to learn here can literally save yours. We're going to talk about SV Escape, and more importantly, we're going to talk about it from the paradigm of the seamanship lessons that explain how a routine reef escalated into catastrophe. This story has taken me 3 years to tell. I was one of the last people to see Karl and Annemarie alive. We were anchored together in Bermuda, waiting for Tropical Storm Alex to pass over us so we could leave. They went west towards Nova Scotia, and I went east towards the Azores. 72 hours later, they were gone. This is their story and a professional sailor's analysis of the risk chain that allowed things to unravel so quickly. More importantly, there are 7 lessons here. And if you don't catch anything else from this video, skip to that part. I'm not here to reconstruct every minute or assign blame. I'm here to talk about the seamanship lessons that keep this from happening again. So what happened to Escape? The date is June 9th, 2022. Karl and Annemarie departed from St. George's, Bermuda, aboard their CNB 66 Escape with 2 experienced crew. It's a modern yacht with a large rig and very powerful systems. It's got electric winches and a hydraulic boom vane and an electric in-boom furling mainsail system with the control buttons at the mast. The plan is straightforward. They're going to ride the back edge of that tropical storm that we just waited out all the way north towards Nova Scotia. And the first 48 hours of this go fairly well. Squalls are handled, the sail is reduced and reefed as needed, and this boat moves fast. The hull speed on a CMB 66 is 10.5 knots, so they easily clear 200 miles in that first day. At this point, they're running downwind with the preventer rigged on the boom, and everybody is starting to settle into the passage. Somewhere late on the second night, the conditions start changing. The wind starts building rapidly from the high teens into the mid-30s with gusts well into the mid-40s. And at this point, they're crossing the Gulf Stream in a classic wind against current situation, which is one of the most dangerous times you can be out there. The wind blowing from the east and the current coming from the west stacks up the sea really fast. The waves get very short periods, they get steep, and they get violent. We often call them square waves because that's what they feel like when they slam into you. As the weather gets worse, wave height increases, the motion of the boat becomes really violent. Escape has already reefed and is running downwind at hull speed at this point. So another reef is called for, and that decision is sound. However, their sail handling system requires that the boat be turned head to wind in order to furl the mainsail. In-boom furling systems need a very precise boom angle in order for that sail to roll up on the mandrel inside the boom. These conditions are very difficult to maintain at night in steep seas. So they get the boat turned around, they're head to wind, it's dark, visibility is very minimal. The yacht begins pitching side to side very heavily. And at some point in this sequence, in this reefing sequence, they lose control of the boom. Whether it's gear failure or human error or a combination of both, the exact details are unknowable. But what matters is the results. As the boat is being thrown around by the sea, the boom swings violently from one side to the other under immense load. The main sheet, that's the line that connects the back of the boom to the deck of the boat, snaps tight and strikes Annemarie, throwing her head first into the seating area. She's badly injured. Karl, her husband, is at the mast controlling the motor for the boom furler, and he sees this happen. And understandably, he's so focused on helping his wife that he never sees the boom coming back the other way. It hits him. And when he hits the deck, his leg is severely compound fractured. Somewhere in this melee, the main sheet is ripped clean out of the deck just due to the shock loading of the boom hitting back and forth. The boom is now uncontrollable, with the sails still half up, the wind is still very heavy, and the sea is still very violent. The remaining crew respond decisively. They move Karl and Annemarie out of danger, they apply medical care, and they activate the EPIRB and make distress calls over the VHF. One of them crawls to the wheel on his hands and knees and gets the boat turned back downwind, trying to pin the sail and the boom against the shrouds. But this is a very difficult thing to hold because you're extremely overpowered. The boat's trying to round up. You're trying to stay clear if the boat jibes again. Super hard. But in a brief lull, they manage to lasso a strop around the boom and secure it near the center line of the boat. A complex offshore rescue follows. A long-range aircraft is launched. A helicopter refuels at sea from a cutter to extend its reach. Rescue swimmers are dropped from the helicopter in the darkness, in heavy conditions, and Karl and Annemarie are recovered. But sadly, they don't survive. Here are the 7 lessons that we can learn from this tragedy. Number 1, always take a reef at sunset. A great sailor once told me, James, if I can give you one piece of advice, it is to always reef at sunset. If you're asking yourself whether it's time to reef, you are already too late. To steal a phrase from the Pardis, one of the most prolific cruising couples from the 20th century, reef early, reef often. And after dark, everything gets harder. Visibility drops and depth perception disappears and reaction time slows as your circadian rhythm gets disrupted. You're colder, you're more tired, and you're more likely to make mistakes that inevitably cascade into bigger ones. And for reasons I can't fully explain, the wind almost always seems to pick up offshore at night, and almost every serious problem I've ever had at sea started in the dark. So make this a rule on your boat. Reef at sunset. You can always shake it out later, but putting it in early, before you're rushed and wet and tired, will save your ass one day. I promise you. Number 2, sail at 80%. Offshore sailing is not about extracting maximum performance from the boat. It's about preserving margin. That extra 20% buffer, that part that you could use but choose not to, is what gives you time to think and time to react and time to fix problems before they become emergencies. Sailing at 80% means not carrying full sail just because the boat feels fine, and not pushing harder just because the polar says you can, or not optimizing for speed when you should be optimizing for control and optimizing for the crew. Boats break when you push them too hard. The crews break when you push them too hard. And good captains live comfortably inside that safety zone, that 80%. Number 3, respect wind versus current, especially at night. Wind against current is where the ocean stops playing fair. It doesn't matter what the forecast says. When the wind stacks up against the current, seas get steeper, periods get shorter, and it gets much more violent. The loads on the boat spike, motion becomes unpredictable, people get seasick, boats trip, they stall, they get thrown around. Turning head to wind in these conditions is one of the most dangerous things you can do on a sailboat. Please do not do that. When you turn the boat, it loses momentum. The waves crash into the front and they stop the boat. And then pitching goes through the roof, and everything that was manageable seconds ago is just chaotic. If you're sailing in places like the Gulf Stream, Algujas, Kuroshio, the Humboldt Current, or any other major current system, assume that the conditions will be worse than advertised and plan accordingly. Number 4. Reef off the wind when possible. This is a bit more advanced offshore technique, but I find that most cruisers fall into this eventually. We don't let our sails flog. We don't ever head up to reef our sails because every time the sail snaps into the wind and flogs, it stresses out the stitching and it breaks the sail eventually. And those things are expensive, and that's your propulsion. That's your primary propulsion. So better learn your boat and learn how to reef your boat off the wind on a broad reach or downwind. John Harries from Attainable Adventure Cruising has a really good article about this. I recommend everybody go to read it. The link is in the description. But basically, you get better balance, you get fewer loads, there's fewer shock events, and it's just a better way to reef. If your boat has a system like one of those boom furling systems that requires that you turn your head up to reef, you better have that system down, and you better teach your crew to do it with their eyes closed. Number 5, a ship is a crew brain, not a captain brain. If only one person on board understands the sail plan and the weather and the limits of the boat, then you don't have a crew, you have passengers with a captain. Situational awareness offshore is a full crew job. There should be more than one person watching the weather and looking at the sea state and backing up the captain while they sleep. And modern tools make this easier than ever. Wind maps are so intuitive now, you don't need a meteorology degree to know that that giant red blob moving towards your position is a bad thing. You just need access and a little context. And access matters. If you're the captain, your job isn't just to make the decision, it's to distribute judgment. That means your crew needs to know how to reef, step by step, not just how to pull a line when told to. They need to know how to recover a man overboard. They need to know where the fire extinguishers are and which one to grab, how to secure or depower the boat if you're not on deck. Give them the tools to back you up. Give them access to this weather software. Share the predict wind login. Walk them through the routing. Walk them through the sail plan. Walk them through the reefing thresholds. First reef at 16 knots, second reef at 21 knots, third reef at 27 knots. Have it written down right there at the nav station if you have to. Make it boring, make it repetitive, and encourage questions, not silence. Because offshore, the most dangerous words a crew can think are, oh, the captain's got it. He's good. Make your crew co-captains, not warm bodies with eyeballs. Number 6, buy a boat you can actually handle offshore. This one may be hard for some of you to hear, but part of the risk that night, part of what made everything happen so fast was that boat. Frank and Annemarie were sailing on a 70-foot race boat with a 95-foot carbon mast and roughly 2,300 square feet of sail area. The loads on that boat are fucking huge. When everything's going right, that kind of boat is a dream. It's fast, it's powerful, it's capable. But when things start going wrong and start cascading, especially at night, especially in big seas, the margin disappears almost instantly. These big boats don't forgive hesitation. They don't forgive confusion. And they absolutely do not forgive loss of control. Every system is heavier. Every line is under more load. Every mistake carries more energy. And when a boom moves on a boat that big, it's not swinging, it's weaponized. A smaller, simpler boat gives you more time to react, more time to think, more time to fix mistakes before they cascade, inevitably. Offshore, the best boat is not the biggest one you can afford. It's the one you can control, even when you're tired or scared, or operating at 3 o'clock in the morning in shit conditions. The ocean doesn't care how beautiful your boat is. If you are going to have a big boat like that, you're going to have to get some professional crew. Number 7, beware the first 72 hours. The first 3 days offshore are the most dangerous part of any passage. You're tired, routines aren't set yet, your circadian rhythm is completely messed up, the small issues on board haven't revealed themselves yet, but they're there. Most mistakes don't happen 2 weeks into a crossing. They happen early, when people are still settling in and confidence hasn't really caught up to reality. In this time, in this first 72 hours, slow down, reef early, keep things super conservative. Let the boat and the crew find their stride before you start asking more of them. On a personal note, I have been offshore when the forecast broke, and it was completely wrong as to what was happening outside. I've watched gear get blown off the boat and disappear into black water, and I've felt how fast control can slip away. The line between a hard night and a fatal one is much thinner than people want to believe. This isn't about blame, it's about respecting how little margin the ocean gives us and choosing to keep some in reserve. Before I wrap this up, I want to point you to something that I built called the Captain's Locker. It's a free library of actual tools that I use offshore. It's not theory, it's not gear reviews. It's printable stuff that you can laminate, things that live at the nav station or in a ditch bag. And you can find printable watch schedules, reefing cards, ditch bag inventories, abandoned ship checklists, things like that. When I originally built this Captain's Locker, it was a place for me to put all the things that didn't fit inside my book. But as it's grown, it's become such a cool resource, I really don't want it behind a paywall. especially after stories like this one. So it's free. You don't have to sign up. There's no email wall. Go there and download whatever helps you run a safer boat. The link is in the description. Remember the takeaways here. Reef early, expect to be tired, and train your crew. That's it. I'll see you next week. Thank you.